And the last one, let's have a look at one more. All right, say what you see. I'll give you a chance this time. I'll slow down a bit. So something about the eyes. Yeah, it's holding the word factor. Any thoughts? Well done. Is that Kumar? Factor eyes. Well done. All right, I think we're ready to make a start and think about some activities for our Maths Week. Here we go. So as I said, this is about raising the profile of maths in your school. So have a think about these statements and see if you can rate the current profile of maths in your own school at the moment. So in your school, how do you rate that statement? Maths is highly visible around the environment. Do you strongly disagree? Disagree? Are you neutral to that statement? Do you agree? Or do you strongly agree? And what about this one? Maths is enjoyed by the students and the staff. How are you sitting with that statement for your school? And our third one I want you to have a think about is, in our school, we engage regularly in whole school maths events and celebrations. How are you thinking around that one? So if for any of those statements, you're leaning more to the right, fantastic, that's great. You've got a really good profile of maths in your school. If you were sort of leaning more to the left there, then hopefully Maths Week is an opportunity to bring the fun back in maths and make it more visible. So let's give you some ideas. What we're going to do in our session is, first of all, I'm going to share some ideas that you might want to use in your own classroom. But also these could be ideas if you're a maths leader that perhaps you could lead in your own school and have as a whole school event. Then I'd like to take the opportunity for you to bring your own ideas to our discussion, and we're going to be putting those on a Padlet so that we can see what else is happening around the country and some things that you know you've used successfully in the past. And then finally, I'm going to spend the last part of the session looking at how to use those wonderful resources that are available already on mathsweek.co.nz. So that's what we're going to look at in this session. So to begin with, I'm going to start talking about daily estimates. This is a really lovely thing that you can do whole school, and it's quite simple. It doesn't take a lot of setup. So the way it works is that each day you pose one daily estimate, and it might be announced across the school speaker, perhaps at morning roll time. At that time, the teacher then records everyone's estimates. Everyone has a go. So for example, it might be that estimate you can see on your screen there. How many netball goals can the principal score in 1 minute? Then, and this is where we're trying to get the fun into it. An idea would be that you then perform the estimate at an appropriate time so that everyone can actually come and see it actually being done. So perhaps at lunchtime. So the bell could go, everyone goes outside onto the courts and watches the principal and see how many netball goals they can score in 1 minute. If it's the type of estimate where it's not possible for the whole school to come and watch, then perhaps you send a couple of students from each class to go and watch the estimate being performed, and they perhaps video it or report back to their class. Then, once you know what the answer was to the daily estimate, you can provide winners or those closest to the estimate with something, and that's up to your school how you do that. It might be perhaps they earn some maths dollars that you're going to use throughout the whole week. Or perhaps they get a certificate that's already pre-made up for getting the closest to the estimate that day in their classroom. Or perhaps their name goes into the draw for a prize at the end of the week. So daily estimates are great fun, quite simple to do. So can I get you to think at the moment, and don't just think about number, think about all the different strands of mathematics, and if you can have suggestions about what daily estimates you could think of that could be run in the school, and perhaps write them in the chat. So the one we had before was estimate how many goals a principal can score in 1 minute. So I'm going to just be quiet for a few seconds and let you have a think. What could be some daily estimates you could run that would be for the whole school that you could use in the chat? Let's see if there's some ideas. So if you can find the chat, and I'm just going to be quiet and let you think just for a moment. How many laps in 10 minutes by someone? Lovely, I like that one. How many year ones will fit in the goal circle in the netball court? Nice. Oh, how long can someone do a plank for? Oh, I love all these ideas, they're great. How many lunches are bought on Friday? Nice. It might be worth copying these chat suggestions later, Robin, and putting them somewhere. Perhaps we can add them into a slide at the end. There's some lovely ideas coming through.
Yeah, I'm just copying them out right now and dropping them into a Google Doc.
Oh, they're lovely.
I'll keep doing.
So keep adding those to the chat. And once you've got a few suggestions, if you are the maths leader in your school, then set it out for the week so you know which estimate you're going to do on which day. So here are some other examples that I've just thrown up on the screen, but I'm liking your ones that you're putting in there. I've got how many M&Ms are the width of the office door? Or how far can someone throw a gumboot? And so on. And you can see those others I've put up on the screen. So just for fun, we'll do an estimate together. And I'm going to reveal the estimate at the end of our session today. So the estimate that we're going to do is, what is the circumference of my head? Now that's a little bit hard, I know, when we're a bit virtual and you can't see me in real life, but here's my tape measure, and that's the part of the head I'd like you to, if you can see me, to make your estimate about. The widest part around my head. What is the circumference of my head? And pop your answer into the estimate. Robin's going to be looking through to announce our winner at the end of our session. All right. So what is the circumference of my head? Have an estimate. And we're going to have answers in centimetres. Okay. So there we go. I'm just going to give you a moment. Pop your own estimate in. I might put my hand up here just so you've got something to use as a benchmark. There you go. All right. So while you're perhaps putting in your estimate for my circumference of my head, we'll move on. So that's daily estimates. Another favourite is to combine sport with maths. And you can do this through running maths fitness circuits. So you may have stations set up around a particular area. I know when I ran this, well, it wasn't myself who ran this at my school, it was another lovely teacher. What they had done is that they got the senior class every morning, put out the stations, and it was ready there for the rest of the day for any class to come to during any part of the school day, and then the senior class back again at the end. So if you can organise an older classroom to come and do that, that would be great. So how do they work? Well, perhaps you have them set up as like a how many station. So when they go to the place where the shuttle runs, for example, are going to be run, or this one I've got the sit-ups, there we go. Perhaps once you're at the sit-ups, there are some dice there, and what the children have to do when they're at the sit-up station is that they roll 3 dice, and they have to add the numbers together, and then they do that many sit-ups. Moving on, maybe they've moved on to the planks. And this time when they have to roll 2 dice, multiply them together, and then they have to plank for that many seconds. Now we're not going to do a maths big fitness one together, but I thought, well, we can do some armchair aerobics. So that's always a good alternative. So what we're going to do is I've got 2 dice here. And on our fitness circle, we're going to add our 2 dice and do that many shoulder rolls. So there we go. I've got a 5 and a 4. So 9 shoulder rolls, everybody. Well, that's quite nice at the end of the day, isn't it? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So that's how you run maths fitness circuits, just with some simple dice. Another way that you could run it or add it as well is that when they get to a particular station, instead of having dice, it's a how many can you do? It's a 1 minute station. So for example, if they've got to the star jump station, this time they have 1 minute, and while they're doing their star jumps, they have to do some counting. And as you can see on the screen, obviously differentiate it according to which age child is coming up to that station. So if you're in year 0 to 2, perhaps they have to do 1 minute of star jumping whilst counting in ones up to 100 forwards and backwards. But if you're year 3 and 6, perhaps they have to do that counting in fours. Or in year 7 and 8, they're counting in thirds up to 10 forwards and backwards. So 2 different ways of running fitness circuits. Again, doesn't take too much organisation, and they're really good fun to run. Have them set up for the week, ready to roll. All right, so maths trails. I'm not sure if anyone has ever organised a maths trail before. Again, I'm going to show you 2 different ways that these could be done. This could be a whole school event that it's set up for the whole school, or perhaps it could just be for your class. So if you know the game I Have, Who Has, or Loopy, it's a bit like that, so that you have, you attach a maths question to places around the school, and then provide a map to show where each number has been placed, where each answer has been placed. So for example, the question that you've got here says divide the number of degrees in a right angle by 10. So I'd have to work that out. So the answer is going to be 9. And I would then have to look on my map and go to wherever I see the number 9 card has been placed. So you can see at the top of the next card, it's got number 9. So that's the answer to that question. And then I have my next maths question to solve. And then I would have to find the number to go on to the next bit. So it's a bit like orienteering in a way. So you're using a map to try and find out where to find that next answer. Takes a little bit more organisation, but is really good fun. So that's one version of a maths trail. The other version is that more physical, using the physical environment. So where someone beforehand, where it may be yourself, has gone around the school and created a set of questions, getting the children to use their maths eyes around the school environment. Things like those sentence starters, how many, it might be how many steps is it from where we're standing now to the flagpole, for example. So there are some examples when, if you go to the resources on AMA website afterwards, I've included some links to examples where you can find suitable maths trails or suitable maths trail questions, just to give you a bit of inspiration. But they're really good fun. And once you start walking around the school, creating those questions, they start to get easier. And what's great about maths trails is once you do them with the children, children start noticing all sorts of things with their maths eyes. So I can strongly recommend maths trails. Okay, playground maths. How often do you actually use what you've got on your playground? Have you got any markings on your playground that we kind of forget about, that they're there, but we've never really used them? So take the opportunity to use your playground markings, or perhaps even get the children involved with designing a playground marking, and then go out and draw it in the chalk and use it. I've got some lovely examples here, which I found from a quick Google search. If you just Google playground markings, there's some lovely ideas. One in particular I really liked was this Mirror Me one. I thought that was a really lovely thing that you could put out on the playground, and then the children are using different actions. I thought that was really lovely. So yeah, making use of your playground maths. While I was looking for some different images, I found this lovely creation. And I thought, wow, this is a bit different. And look at that wonderful playground full of different lines and colours. And I was wondering, how do you think you would use that? If that was your playground marking, how could you use it? So again, just take a moment, have a think. What would you do? How could you get your class out and use something with markings like that? Angles. I can see someone's already thinking about it, using angles. I'm going to share with you some ideas about a simple marking like this. Oh, maze, lovely. Directions, yep, they're all coming through. Degrees and lengths. How many people can fit on one line? Find the total length of all the red lines. Get some measuring in. As he was talking about with directions, blindfold a child and give directions to walk on a line or to get from one place to another. Go and find a right angle, go and find an acute angle, go and stand in an obtuse angle. So yeah, I thought that was a fantastic playground marking. All right, so while we're thinking about playgrounds, we've thought about the things you could use on the concrete, but what about some pop-up maths, which aren't actually teacher directed? So this, I'm just sharing with you some ideas that we've done overseas. This is by a maths leader in another country, and they thought about having like a pop-up maths in the playground for children to use during lunchtime and playtime. It was just out of their own interest. And the first example, as you see, there is a beaver. And what this teacher had done is that every day she would just pop up a couple of height labels set at the correct height of different celebrities or animals for the students to measure themselves against. And just reading the blog about it, it was lovely because the children got really excited to see where another height label might just pop up. So I really like this idea about this pop-up maths. Gets the children looking, and of course they, you know, it's lovely to see, oh, I'm as tall as that one of my favourite celebrities, and so on. Another pop-up maths idea in the playground that you might just put up somewhere is a scavenger hunt. So it might just be a pop-up for one day is go and find as many right angles as you can. And then off they go. It gives the children something to do during playtime, lunchtime, that's math related. And the last pop-up maths idea is a pop-up work it out. So again, it might be a pop-up on the blackboard or a sign outside the office, pop-up, work it out. How many minutes are left before the school finishes? So the idea of pop-up maths, just adding to, and it's for the children to do in their own time, playtime or lunchtime, or indeed for the families to do before or after school. Now, Mathsesthon might be something that you were thinking of doing during Mathsweek. If you're only just thinking about doing it now, I'd probably say it's a little bit too soon to run it during Mathsweek, but it's certainly something you could perhaps launch during Mathsweek and then run the actual Mathsesthon a couple of weeks later. So a Mathsesthon is just like a spellathon, but with maths-related questions. So obviously it would need you or someone in your school to design a set of questions that the children would take home a couple of weeks in advance for them to start to learn. And again, I do have a link to some example questions that might be relevant or useful for you that have been differentiated across our different year levels. And they would include or could include perhaps some basic facts that you want them specifically to learn. It could include some geometric shape names or attributes or angles, pieces of knowledge, maybe some measurement knowledge, knowing how many minutes are in an hour or how many centimetres are in a metre, those types of questions. So perhaps 20 or so questions that the children are given a couple of weeks before the big day for the Mathsesthon. They go away and learn them, but I really strongly suggest to provide that practice and support with learning them in the class as well. So maybe it's during some of your warm-up time, during their independent work, or perhaps start to include what I call SSM instead of SSR, Sustained Silent Maths, where it's the time when they can come straight back in after after morning tea, for example, and practice their Mathsesthon questions. If you are running a Mathsesthon, it could be obviously sponsored if you want to get some fundraising involved as well for your school. But you might want to organise some incentives for doing really well with the Mathsesthon questions. It could be that you're going to run some spot prizes as they bring back their sheets after the Mathsesthon event. And they might be, you might be giving out some maths dollars again for them to go and buy something that's not real, but just virtual at the end of the week. So Mathsesthon. Another nice one, if you don't already run some sort of games club in your school, maybe make it a special week that at lunchtime you have just a games club time. So at lunch, there's a space set up where they can play games. And in fact, these would be some lovely games that you could perhaps use for your fundraising for Mathsesthon. All those games that perhaps we used to play a long time ago, but the children aren't so familiar with now. Be great to get some of these games back in because there is so much maths involved. So these are some of my favourites, and I know my own children, talking personally, when we played Junior Monopoly when they were little, that was how they learned all their facts to 5, but just through games. Yeah, so lots of lovely games. Perhaps you could run a family fun night. Again, it's just a chance to play games, running in the evening during Maths Week. Another option might be that you have a maths cafe, and it's a place in school, maybe in the office entrance, where it's a time where you can have games available. Or as a maths cafe, it's just an opportunity for maybe the parents, whānau, to pop in and know that they can come and ask any maths related questions, which sometimes they might want to ask, but they don't think it's quite the time to do so. So yeah, so games, lunch club, or family fun night. So I've done a bit of talking already with some ideas, hopefully get you thinking. And what I would really like to do now is to add to the Padlet of ideas. So Robin's going to put the link to the Padlet back into the chat. And there it is, she's put it there now. So I'm going to take us there now so you can see it. There we go. Okay, so with the Padlet, I've just put up some of those ideas that we had at the beginning, just to remind you, because if you have done something similar at your school and you'd like to add your own comment maybe about how you've changed that or you adapted those ideas, please add them in the comments boxes. And if you've got any new ideas or something that you think would be useful for Maths Week, then add your own post-it. And the way you do that is just double click anywhere, for example here, double click anywhere on the page and you will notice a little post-it will come up for you to write your own suggestion. So it would be lovely if you could add any ideas that you have used successfully before for Maths Week, or if you are thinking of using for Maths Week. Alternatively, if you have a question, perhaps that you'd like other teachers to answer or for us to answer, pop them on the Padlet as well. So hopefully you found the link in the chat that will take you to the Padlet if you click it. And hopefully you've got the this Maths Week Padlet page in front of you. And so I'm just going to be a bit quiet again and give you a chance to hopefully maybe add some ideas or add your comments or questions, or just have a think at the moment about the things that we have already started to talk about and what you could start to use yourself. If you're having any trouble with accessing the link or anything, do put it in the chat so we can help you. So thank you, Rebecca. I can see you've added in the Esther mystery. So I'm just wondering, perhaps, are you going to be adding, are you using that as something that each class is going to do, or you're going to start to use them as part of a home learning? So I imagine that would be from the Steve Warborney Essay Mystery sites. That's back to Mystery and change to Splat. Yep. Yep, I love both of those. Okay. Are there any other more ideas that people have been using for their Maths Week? I know I read recently, I think it was from last Maths Week, some lovely inspirational ideas where one of the teachers who's heavily involved in lovely problem solving with their class, they had asked famous people, celebrities, to read out problems that they were then sharing with their children, so that when the children came to problem solving, it wasn't just presented to them in a normal way, it was just presented a little bit different by having this celebrity or even a parent or someone different who had been videoed and was reading the problem to them. Just putting a little, just a difference to it, making it a little bit more special. I thought that was a lovely idea. All right, well, I'm going to leave that Padlet there. If you want to add to it, we'll come back to it. I'm just going to switch back to our little slide now. Hopefully you can still see my slide and see where we're going. A couple of other thoughts, and this is a really popular one, is to have maths picture books. Now, if you haven't already got maths picture books in your school, there's a whole list of them on NZ Maths that are really easy, user-friendly. So if I just click this little link here, it will take you to the picture books site on NZ Maths, and then you can click into the matrix and it will come up with a whole list of books with mathematical content at different levels. And one suggestion is that, oh, I'll take that away, rather than you read a maths picture book to your class each day, that maybe you have one book, or a teacher each will have a maths picture book, but they rotate around different classrooms. So each day, the children in the class will be read a maths picture book, but it will be by somebody different. So that every day after lunch is maths picture book reading time. Nice and simple to do, and again, it's a fun way of bringing that maths back into the classroom. Another suggestion is often we have book dress-up days for literacy. How about having a maths dress-up day? So nominate one day for your school, and the children come in dressed up with something mathematical, whatever it may be. Again, I've seen some lovely dress-ups which are mathematical, and we can see this lovely little dominoes person here in front of us. People have dressed up as cubes, dice, big clock faces, all sorts of different things. So having a maths dress-up day, another fun idea. And finally, it's a really good opportunity in Maths Weeks to show students the relevance of maths in real life. So take the opportunity to invite speakers in to talk about how maths is used in their jobs. So you might want to ask parents who would be comfortable coming into the classroom and to just share about how maths is used in their jobs. Alternatively, you might choose to go on a trip outside of the school and see how maths is being used in the real world. So a few other little ideas there, more on that classroom level as well. So that brings me to the last part of our session, which is looking at what's available on the Mathsweek site. This is a fabulous fabulous resource, and it's been around for many years now, and it is totally free. It's sponsored by the Ministry of Education and NZAPT, and Bill Edward, who has written most of the material in the previous years, is actually what do they call it? Hanging up his pen this year, after 14 years of service. So he's given up. Yeah, he's really done wonders, I think, for maths for Mathsweek, and is now led by a team of 7 people who write these resources that are available to use. So please use them, and they're absolutely fabulous. And it's been growing every year. In fact, I think I've written down here the last number of people that were using it last year. How we go? Yeah, last year, 288,441 students used the resources on Mathsweek, and 6,657 teachers registered. So you may well have been one of them already. So I thought it might be useful just to show what's available on there, highlight a couple of things, but also make sure you're aware of what there is. The first thing I think you need to be aware of is if you want the answers as teachers, please register, because that means that you'll get the answers. But it also means that Mathsweek can see how many people are using the resource, and it's such a fabulous resource. It would be great to be able to show that it's being used by many teachers and students, and it will hopefully be continued to be free in the future. Once you've registered, about a week before, or just over a week before, teachers will be given then login details, so that when you go onto the site, you can access those schools. Now, it is important that you use your school email address. When the students actually use the resource themselves, if they want to go on, they don't need to log in at all. Okay, so there's no login required for students or parents. Everything just goes live on Mathsweek at the start of Mathsweek on the Monday. The tip is that sometimes, I know many teachers have felt they weren't quite ready to do it during Mathsweek. They might want to hold those activities and ideas and run it the next week, because then they know a little bit more about what the activities are. And so that sometimes I know teachers have found it useful to run their own Mathsweek based on these resources the following week. So what I'm going to do is just highlight a couple of the activities they have on Mathsweek, so that you're aware of what they are. As you can see down the side here, they have a whole range, and this year they're carrying on with the Survivor series, which is for levels 1 to 5, the Daily Dollar for curriculum levels 1 to 5, Maths Chaser levels 2 to 5, they're running the Maths Millionaire, again levels 2 to 5, Dollars and Cents for level 5, and a few of the other things that I'll talk about in a minute. So let's just highlight a couple of what they are. So the Survivor series is where each day they will give 5 or 6 questions related around a particular theme. And if all the answers are correct on each day, then the teacher gives the students a code word. So for example, and this one, they might have been given the first code word, office. At the end of the week, the students hopefully have collected 5 code words that they then put together to form a sentence, and that tells them where to find the Mathsweek treasure. So for example, at the end of the day, end of the week, they may have been given that sentence there. It's on the large table in the office. And then they can send one person or all of them to go and find out what is on the large table in the office, whatever that maths treasure might be. So it's a really nice, fun way to get some problem solving happening, and they end up with finding the Mathsweek treasure. So that's Survivor series, and all you need to do as the teacher is print off the questions or display the questions that you've been given from the website. Another favourite is the Maths Chaser. So if you watch the Chase on the television, this runs the same way. What happens is that you will get given 10 questions first of all that the students complete first of all. It's a little short test, just like on the Chase. And that tells them how many dollars they can win at the start. Now, the original short test of 10 questions have kind of been designed that they hopefully are not going to get them all correct. Usually about 6 or 7 might be the norm that they might get correct. Then you need to draw your ladder, perhaps on the board, or if you want to do it digitally, that's up to you, with 7 rungs. And the students decide on their starting position. So they can either take the original place that you can see there, which is about 3 rungs down in front of the chaser who's at the top in red, or they can try and increase their amount of dollars. So if, for example, the students had got 6 questions correct in the original test, they could stick with the 6 questions, the $6, and get to the end. Or they could think, no, I'm going to try and increase the amount of money and multiply it by 10, get $60, but it means I'm a little bit closer to the chaser. He hasn't got so far to get to chase up to me. Or you can play it safe and get 1/10 of the amount that you started with. So the students decide where they start on that ladder. And then with the Maths Chase, there are then a series of questions, multiple choice questions. And for every correct question, the students move 1 rung down the ladder to safety. The chaser, which is the teacher, also gets asked the same multiple choice questions, and the teacher, the chaser, is never wrong. So the chaser will get each one correct. If the student gets down to the bottom of the ladder first, then they collect the amount of dollars that they had negotiated with at the start. So it's the feedback I've heard from teachers who've used this said that students really engaged with it. So it's quite a nice one to use. And again, all the questions are given to you, and they're ranging from levels 2 up to levels 5. So there's some differentiated sets of questions there. The last one I'm going to highlight is the daily dollar. Again, this goes from level 1, right from year 1s up to level 5, year 11. And for the daily dollar questions, they get 5 or 6 questions a day. And the object is to earn a number of maths dollars for each question. So each question might be worth, for example, $20. And then at the end of the week, the students total how many dollars they collected during the week, how many questions they got right. So that's the daily dollar. So I suppose I've mentioned at the moment how students might be getting maths dollars during Mathsweek, which you might be using all the way throughout. So what could the students do with all their maths dollars that they've earned during Mathsweek? What might be the event on a Friday that you could have that they could then go and spend their virtual maths dollars on? Could be all sorts of different things you can do. Perhaps you run an auction for something, or perhaps they have some choices up on how they might spend their maths dollars. So these are ones that don't involve any cost from us to have to provide any prizes. And I'm sure there'd be many students who would be very, very happy to have earned $100 and get the teacher organising their desk. I'm not quite sure how happy we'd be doing that, but there we go. So yeah, so if you are giving out maths dollars during the week, have a think about how they could use it at the end to turn it into a fun event after they've worked out their total. So with the Mathsweek resources, as I said, I've shown you what the Survivor series is and the Daily Dollar and the Maths Chase. Maths Millionaire is just like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, if you know that game. And that's one that they need to be online for. And it does work from tablets and smartphones as well. There is a particular section on dollars and cents. This is aimed for more curriculum level 5 with a financial capability focus. And I think that one's written from the Young Enterprise by Paul Newsom. There's also a super challenge. And the super challenge is where there is one question a day, just a really good, challenging question. And at the end of the week, if the students got all, I think there's just 4 of them, 4 questions correct over the week, that they can get a special certificate for. So that's the super challenge. Mathsweek also have topic chapters available. So questions around particular themes and topics. I think there was one last year, it was a lovely one all around artificial intelligence. There were some really interesting questions and so on around a particular theme. And they also have a couple of interactive games. So it really is a fabulous place to go, not just for Mathsweek. You might take some of those ideas and maybe hold them onto them for another time of your own choosing. So just a big thank you to those people who write the Mathsweek resources. It's fabulous, and it'd be great to support them. I think they accept donations happily, so if your school want to support them and donate, that would be fabulous too. So Mathsweek, if you haven't yet registered, it's not too late. So please do register yourself with your email. And when it says you register your students, it's just so that they get to know how many students will be accessing the resources via yourself. So you will be asked how many students will be using it. So there we go. We've thrown out quite a lot of ideas there. Have a moment to reflect. What might your Mathsweek look like? And from all those suggestions, what is it that you might need to do now? Now, Pip, I can see that you want to jump in. Yes, please. Yeah. Pip, jump in.
So I just want to reinforce with the Mathsweek about people registering, but the thing it's really important you get the answers when they become available, but the Mathsweek site stays open right until the end of the year. So I think that's really useful to do. Like, you might do a couple of things during Mathsweek, or 1 or 2 things, and then you might think, oh, we'll do some more at the end of the year. So I'd really encourage you, even if you don't do anything in Mathsweek, to download the answers at least, so you've got them, so that you can access it throughout the rest of the year, which is something I didn't know until I actually got involved in the writing, that the site's open for a long time, but not the answers.
Thank you, Pip, because I thank you for clarifying that. I didn't realise it's till the end of the year that long, so that's really good to know. Thank you.
It was last year, and I assume it will be the same this year.
Great. So there we go. Hopefully you're thinking of something that's jumped out at you and is something you could either run by yourself in your own class, or if you're a maths leader in your school, something that perhaps you could lead for the whole school. I've got someone who'd like to share an idea. Yes, please. So, Dave.
Yes, I'm Juanita. We do Mathsweek very big at our school every year, and I have created a maths bingo for my teachers. So they've got a whole bingo card per class with lots of maths ideas, and as the class gets time to do an activity, they cross it off, and we see who gets the first bingo for the week.
Sounds fun. Is that something that you could share a link to give us a bit of a visual? Or if you have it handy, put it in the chat.
Not on the right computer at the moment.
No, that's all right. On the Padlet a bit later, maybe.
Yes, I can do that. Yeah.
That would be lovely.
Awesome.
Does anyone else want to share something that as an idea rather than write it on the Padlet now? I'll just be quiet. Please unmute your mic if you would like to. Okay, so if there are any other ideas, please keep adding them to that Padlet. That Padlet link will be live. Keep adding them to it. That would be great. So let's go back to that estimate that we started at the beginning. About that estimate, what is the circumference of my head? So Robin, have you got the someone's name there that you'd like to just unmute yourself and tell who was closest? I'll just announce it. Where it was.
Hi everybody. Yeah, we have someone that was spot on. Carolyn Crow.
Pre-measured.
Your measure was 57 centimetres, followed closely by Rebecca Locke, who actually wrote 56.5 centimetres, which would also probably be considered, you know, very close to the answer if you thought about the measuring error.
So well done.
What
well
I was
done.
really impressed, everyone added the section behind the numbers. Everyone used units and didn't just write the numbers. So that was really cool.
Well done.
Carolyn, yes, well done.